Okay, working on the 68 today, trying to get some little stuff knocked out. And today is a windshield washer pump because the factory one that's in there doesn't really work. And I don't want to mess with the rebuild kit or any of that stuff. So, easiest deal was this little kit. I think it was only like $11 or something like that. But we're going to install it. It's just a pump that just sits all on its own. And so this is a piece of metal that I made up to mount the washer bottle, because where the washer bottle used to go, which was over here somewhere, obviously the coolant reservoir is there now. So I have the washer bottle bolt into that bolt there, but there's not room for a second bolt, so it just grabs the top one. And then this piece here just supports the bottom. And then instead of making up a whole new piece, like what would have looked better, just because it's freezing cold outside and I don't feel like going digging through a bunch of metal trying to find what I need, I used this little piece of aluminum that was in here, and it bolts to that bottom hole, and then the pump bolts to it. And I filed all the corners down because it really isn't fun when you're, reaching down in the fender trying to run wire or find something, change a bulb, and then you snag your hand on a sharp corner coming back out. So filing down all the corners as I go. So I'm gonna go put that in there and then wire it up. Bigger ones use lock washers, and then I put Loctite on these two just so they don't come off, because right now it's super easy to get these bolts on, but it would be a huge pain to do that with this whole thing bolted in the truck. So I did put Loctite, blue Loctite on those, so hopefully they won't come loose. I wanted to show these cool little heat shrink deals because I always forget to put the heat shrink on there, and so then I solder it together and then I immediately have to cut it off because I forgot the heat shrink. But whatever that says, these things are pretty cool where they already have the solder in them. So basically you get it hot and you melt these little rings, which is an adhesive. So you melt those first, that'll hold it all together while you then melt the rest of it, which that ring there, the middle one is solder. So you just fire up the heat gun. And so it's still hot, but, well, where's the camera? It melts it all together. And then once it cools off, it goes to this dull color, so it doesn't look, so you can actually see that it's covered, the insulation's covered it properly. Because while it's hot, it looks clear, and it kind of looks like it kind of looks like it's just melted away, but now that it's all dull, you can see how it's still all insulated. So these things are pretty cool. And I've been using them on a lot of stuff on the truck. So I guess if someday they have a problem, I will have a whole bunch of them to cut out. But so far, pretty good. All right, so I think I got it wrapped up here. This is looking under the dash, kind of by the key. And so that's the washer pump. And those two bare spade connectors, pretty much right in the center of the shot there. That is the plug I undid. That's the plug for the pump. And it is now right there in that taped up deal. So the two yellow wires are both power wires. It's just that, power comes into it, and then they're just crimped together and power goes back out. And it goes out to the wiper motor. So it's really two wires, even though there's three there. And then the blue one is what runs up to the switch, and the switch grounds out the pump in order for it to run. The pump has 12 volts all the time, and I assume the wiper motor works the same, but for sure, that's what I checked earlier, is the pump has 12 volts when the key is on, and whenever you push the button in, the switch grounds it out to make a circuit. And so I didn't have a connector to go in there, and I didn't want to be cutting any of these wires up in case I put a new
wiper motor in this or something, or I wanted, whatever. I didn't want to hack up the original wiring harness in case I want to go back to stock for whatever reason. So what's in that taped up mess is each of these wires, it's a brown one and a yellow one, and I matched the yellow to the yellow and the brown to the blue. Both of those have a male spade connector on the end of them, and they're just clipped into the plug, you know, just the same as that would have been, because those are just spade connectors. So put the spade, you know, crimped them on, put the spade connectors in there, and then I taped the whole thing up just to make sure that it can't come unplugged. Those wires then snake through over all that and go through the firewall. And it should be fused because we're still on this fuse. Oh yeah, handy little thing. Find a picture of one of these fuse blocks that actually has the lettering on it, print it off, laminate it, slap some little magnets on it, and then you can just, you know, keep it on the glove. It'll stick to the glove box door, and you can take it off and mess with it and actually have something you can read. But so that should be fused, just like it was before, and then that's for the engine bay. Yeah, then you just slap that on there. So it should stay fused. So this is the only part I haven't cleaned up yet, is all these wires need to be in a thing. And it's these two that are running to the pump. These other ones are for the oil cooler. And I snaked everything through the fender this time. I didn't know you could do that, which is why all this junk's out here. In hindsight, I would have ran it all through the fender. And I also pulled all of the line for the whatever spray nozzle deals. I pulled all that back through the firewall because there's no point in running that into the cab because the pump's out here and I don't want to just have anything leaking in the cab. So both of those run over here. I used the T that came with the kit. So this bottom one is what runs to the pump, and then the other two run to the nozzles. It snakes through the fender. And yeah, so the hose comes out there, and then there's the one that goes to the bottle. And so yeah, there's the pump. It's just hanging out there. And hard to see. I'd have to fish it out of there. If I can find it. Okay, well I can't really reach it, but you can see it right there. That gray thing is a connector. I just put a random 2-wire connector in there so that if I need to take this whole thing out, I don't have to just have it dangling somewhere, or I don't have to snake the wires all through the firewall. I can just unplug the motor from the new harness and take the whole thing out like I had earlier. So that's all good, and I'll get the bottle clipped back in and turn it on, and y'all can see the power of the whatever brand this is. What brand is this thing? Trico, most likely made in China. See the power of the spray. And so here's it in there with the bottle. You can't really even see the pump. I mean, it's kind of hidden away down there, which is cool. That relay's not for this, that's for the oil cooler fan. But yeah, so I like the look of that. Yeah, so I don't know if you could hear that. But yeah, it was shooting clear over the truck and hitting the door. All right, so I think I got it adjusted now. I have it, both of them are spraying kind of low on the windshield just since the truck's not moving now, and I figure if I hit it going down the road, then it'll be more in the middle of the windshield. And this one does a nice mist. That one over there is just kind of acting like a water hose, but either way, I guess it works good. But yeah, so it definitely gets water on the window now. So that's good. So I guess we will call that done and move on to something else. So hopefully that was helpful to somebody.
Because, yeah, I mean, with how powerful this one is, I wouldn't even bother with messing with the factory one. I mean, it seems like even when those work good, they don't, I mean, it's never going to work as good as, you know, a more modern pump style as opposed to the diaphragm one that the stock one uses. But yep, so there is that. Good to go.